Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson. And today, Dr. Anna Cabeca is joining us, and we're talking about living a keto green lifestyle. Dr. Anna brings her in-depth knowledge as a triple board certified and a fellow of gynecology and obstetrics, integrative medicine, and anti-aging and regenerative medicine, and her experience as the girlfriend doctor to the show today. We're talking food as medicine and how the keto green lifestyle supports everyone's health, no matter your age, gender, or health challenges. And our conversation is packed with tips from her new book, Menopause. Dr. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here with you, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to dive into your incredible new book. But I always love to start with stories because most of us didn't decide to get into functional medicine when we were toddlers. So I would love for you to share a little bit of your journey and how did you get to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, so really it's that, I think we see this with a lot of functional medicine practitioners, and it is our mess becomes our message. Our mess becomes our message. And I think this is part of the story, right? When I was, I saw food as medicine because I grew up in a home where my mom was diabetic and she underwent her first heart surgery at 52 for cardiac bypass. And I was 16 at the time, and I recognized that the research that they were basing her care on was done on men. And so that made me an advocate for women's health. And then my mom died 15 years later at the young age of 67. And at that point I was a resident at Emory, and I was like, well, how can this happen? What did we miss? And what we missed is what I call the devil's triad: hormone imbalance, inflammation, and adrenal dysfunction. Those, I call that the pitchfork of the devil. And I continued to learn and be curious and ask questions. And then my youngest daughter, it's never just one thing, at least.
Of course.
Gosh, there's so many stories, little seeds, little steps, little pebbles on the road, little breadcrumbs, so to speak. But my firstborn daughter, Amanda, when she was 5 or 6, it was, I was told she was attention deficit. She, had trouble being still. And I remember I was breastfeeding in the back of a class with my son, and I was doing a hormone therapy class. And this is when you ask question, God answers, right? And a beautiful Dr. Gustafson, who since passed away, was sitting next to me. I'm like, oh my God, do you mind if I breastfeed this infant? And she's like, oh no. And we started talking, and she told me, it's like, address the underlying issues that's affecting your daughter versus medicating. And I'm Western trained, love the field of medicine, and, let's get to the quickest solution as quick as possible. And it was really fascinating. And she spoke in a language that I knew because I was a chemist before I went to med school, and actually worked in drug metabolism department for Wyeth Ayers, one of the big pharmaceutical manufacturers. And so I understood what she was talking about with testing organic acids, looking at the Krebs cycle, looking at the cellular function. If we can make changes there, we can improve overall health. And there's so much more. Then I went into early menopause, and I had to, and I went on a journey to reverse that. And so many little pieces of the puzzle till today. I am at 55 years old. I am still learning and very humbled by all I have yet to learn.
Well, and I know the contribution you make to everybody and to women's health. And so one of the reasons I am so excited to have you on today, other than that I always just love talking to you and love seeing your radiant smile. But I know for everybody listening, you just, I love that. The devil's triad, or the pitchfork of the devil. I got goosebumps when you were talking about it, because I'm like, okay, who's listening that doesn't fit, right? As women with autoimmunity, the dealing with the hormones and the inflammation and so it's why I am so excited to continue our conversation. And so you mentioned one of those pieces was your journey with early menopause and reversing that. Let's dig in. Let's talk about, you have this amazing new book out, Menopause. Let's talk
title,
about
right? Yeah.
how, I love it. I love the play on words, but I want to really get into, because people don't talk about it, what is this connection between diet and hormones and menopause? What would a cookbook for menopause, like, where does that even come from?
Right. Like food as medicine. What? Are you kidding? You mean it's not just estrogen? I know. Like, what is that about? But it is the first medicine. It is the first medicine. It is the first right step that we have to take in healing our body. It is to fuel it. Like, we wouldn't be able to move our car without fuel. We cannot, and if we put the wrong fuel in it, it's not going to respond well. And same with us. And food is medicine. This is the first medicine. And in menopause, it's not, you just like power through, suffer. Your doctor's not telling you, well, let's change things up because your body's using fuel in a different way. What? Wait, hold on. Stop the presses. What do you mean? Certainly didn't learn that in med school. Wait, where's the prescription for that?
It's in your kitchen.
It's in your kitchen. It's in your kitchen. And one of the things that I recognize, I say, I affectionately call my second menopause at age 48, when I was spiraling down, full-blown perimenopause, hot flashes, mood swings, difficulty sleeping. I also had full-blown PTSD. So, under the surface, exhibiting all the controls I could, being the workaholic until I couldn't anymore, and really burning out in that downward spiral. And so it was that journey that really humbled me. And that's where I found what I call the Keto Green way of living. That is, by design, optimum from our 40s onward. And so the brain fog was certainly very troublesome, but what was more troublesome was the weight gain without doing anything different. That's right. When my patients used to come in and say, Dr. Anna, I'm gaining 5, 10, 20 pounds without doing anything different, I'd be like, sure, you're not. Sure, you're not.
Yeah, you're not sneaking that snack. And
Right. Like, let me see what's in your purse. And I was totally humbled. I gained 20 pounds without doing anything different. And that was eye-opening for me. And so, so those were, that's been part of the journey. And so that led me into the Keto Green way, like restricting carbs, getting into ketosis. And my oldest daughter has seizures. So I'm very familiar with a ketogenic diet. And the research on it in my patients, low carb restriction in my Candida patients. And I've been very familiar with it, but I started not feeling well. And it occurred to me, women in perimenopause and menopause, when I would put them on this type of restriction, they'd say, Dr. Anna, I feel like I'm hitting a wall. I'm not feeling good. I'm cloudy. I'm really struggling here. And that was happening to me. So I asked the question, why? So I'd say, like, Anna, why are you feeling this way? What's going on? Let's test, not guess. And one of the simple tests was checking my urine pH. And that was an aha moment for me, because urine pH is a biomarker that's, even in my opinion, more important, or as important as your weight on the scale, as your blood pressure, as your heart rate. So your urine pH is telling you how you're interacting with your environment, nutrition, and external stressors. Yeah. And so, but my urine pH was as acidic as the urine pH paper read. So who knows how acidic I was at that point. Yeah. But that said, no wonder you're feeling inflamed. No wonder your foggy. Your body's going to be robbing, stealing from your muscles and bones to keep your mineral balance, right? And so that was an aha moment. So I started adding the alkalinizers. And what I noticed was, as I added beet greens and kale soup and, extra herbs and spices, increasing my Mighty Maca Plus to 2, 3, 4 scoops a day. And I did all that. And yet I noticed too, the mornings I would do gratitude journaling or walk on the beach, I was more alkaline. My urine pH was more alkaline all day.
Okay, wait, say that again, because
Yes.
this is we are so miraculous.
Yes.
And this is the piece I have the hardest time getting people to hear, but you just gave us like a scientific way. So it is, yes, what you're eating is so important, but
what you're thinking, when you're eating, who you're eating with, how you bless the meal before you eat, all of that has an effect. Cortisol is the most acidifying hormone. It increases hydrogen ion secretion across the renal tubules, creating an acidic urinary pH. Cortisol does that. Apparently, oxytocin does the opposite. It's the most alkalinizing hormone. It is the most life-giving longevity hormone. Without oxytocin, we're not giving birth, right? We need oxytocin. Sure. If we're not producing enough, our uterus isn't responding quick enough, we add Pitocin. As an obstetrician, I would inject Pitocin into an individual. That's oxytocin to increase that contraction. And what we feel when the baby's born is that intense bonding. Then I see it so beautifully as a new grandma. Certainly I see it. I also see it in my daughter and her baby. There's that oxytocin bond like she's never experienced in her life. Sure. Right? That incredible imprinting that's happening. And that is survival. That is the best of the best, right? That is the best of the best. And so that was all part of my journey, and realizing too, where my PTSD was coming in, that was cortisol dominance. And it creates oxytocin deficiency, and it creates a disconnect. It is the physiology of divorce. It is the physiology of depression. It is the physiology of burnout.
Wow. I could go in 800 directions.
I know. I'm giving it all to you, girl.
I love it. I know. I told you we only have a half hour. I'm going to actually back it all the way up, because people come to me all the time and they're afraid, and you already touched on it, but I want to kind of really highlight, especially women, perimenopausal women, menopausal women, and they'll say, or women, most of my clients have adrenal challenges, and they'll say, I heard it's really bad to do keto if you have adrenal challenges.
Right. You hear that. And it's the opposite is true.
Yeah.
The opposite is true. We have to stabilize our blood sugar. We have to empower our adrenal glands. Now I supplement, I use my Mighty Maca Plus 30 superfoods that are adaptogenic in composition, that work better together than any single ingredient alone. And I have done every adrenal protocol out there before this. So it is game changing. It is game changing. So I do that. And that's part of the alkalinizer, the detoxifier, the adrenal support. That's key. And then intermittent fasting. Yes, you have to do that. You have to, and that is rest and restoration for your body. You have to eat by 6 or 7 p.m. We have to do these. These are the pauses in our life where the magic happens. That's why I love the title menopause, but the pauses and menopause, right? It's the pauses in our life where the magic happens. So you're never too old, you're never too young. And especially with autoimmune disease, we have to empower our body to restore itself. It's innately intelligent, and giving it the right fuel at the right times in the right ways supports us. And in menopause, I have 2 specific really good plans. Well, 3. Well, all of them actually. Of
course.
They're all really good to support the autoimmune audience. But, seriously, I have my Keto Green Extreme plan, and it is autoimmune autoimmune protocol following that, with eliminating the nightshades and peppers and my favorite tomatoes and eggplants. And I'm a Middle Easterner. Baba ganoush and tabbouleh are 2 of my favorite things.
It's not worth it sometimes, and once we know, I for years used to say, at least thank goodness I can still eat tomatoes. And it was just because I had no idea what I was doing, and now I know better. I finally
Really? And you can't do it?
I will allow like once or twice a year, but if I eat them a couple days in a row, I can feel it. And
Yeah.
because I do what I do, I know that means if I eat them once, they're causing a little inflammation. So
I know that
it's
sucks. I'm
just,
I'm
yep,
that way for 10 years now with dairy. So
yeah,
none of my recipes have dairy.
yay.
And yes, but none of them, it's gluten free. It's been number one on Amazon for ketogenic, gluten free, and menopause. And so there's no dairy free category, but if there was, it would be number one there too.
Well, and I
But it's
wanted to touch
important.
on that. You just brought up, and I know, you know, I knowing the book and knowing you and how nutrient dense your plan is. But I want to touch on, I call it dirty keto, but you mentioned, that's the other thing. People hear keto and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, my friend lost 40 pounds eating, pork rinds and cheese. And I'm
And
like,
there's a stopping point,
oh,
right? And there's a stopping point. Bravo for getting sugar out of your, that's all I can say is bravo for breaking up with sugar. But we got to
yes,
do it in a really healthy way because women, we are different than men. And I lecture a lot on this and I show slides and, like, okay, if you weren't aware, women are different. Anatomically, we're different. Structurally, I mean, there's so many differences, and
yeah,
hormonally, we're different. Men have 10 times as much testosterone. That's an anabolic steroid,
right.
right? That builds up your bone, that maintains muscle. Women, we get into a catabolic state. Add in some healthy stress, you've got, the sandwich generation with your caregiver to older parents and younger kids still at home. I mean, really, there's a lot of stressors going on in our lives. And add that healthy, amount of stress into your life, it's catabolic. It breaks us down. So we have to add in the alkalinizers, the practices and the foods and the herbs and spices and the, really patterns of behavior that are going to serve us well into the second spring of our life. And this is where people doing keto or doing man's keto, or I mean, even for
I
guys,
call it
it's not
dirty
healthy.
keto. It's not healthy for anybody.
Yeah, yeah. And you have some really good advocates coming around. And this is where the whole, like, we've really taken off in the keto community, but this is where you now see people saying, oh, we need minerals. Of course you do. You needed minerals. Check your urine pH. You will see that you need minerals when you're doing keto. Add in the minerals, definitely, but add in the fiber and the greens because every longest living population, every blue zone has a significant amount of plant-based food in it and plant diversity. And that's got to tell us something. That's got to tell us something. And I've definitely seen it in my community and working with, some of the really physiologically challenged women, right? That
Right.
physicians have given up on. They're struggling, they're not getting off the couch, and they're like, oh, this is my last hope, or,
Yeah.
what next? Or and
Well,
they're like,
and
oh wait, I'm feeling better already in just a few. What's this? Food is medicine? Wait, hold on. What's the difference here? But the keto green way has been the way that I have found, but there are also pauses within it that we need to make too.
I want to talk about those pauses. But I want to, what just came up for me as you were saying that is this reminder that I just want to drive home. I'm sure, you said it's like last resort. It's, I hear, and I know you hear it all the time. I've tried everything,
Yeah.
right? People show up and they say, I've tried everything. And so, for everybody listening, you haven't tried everything yet. You've only tried what you've known to try.
Yep.
And every plan that I put together for people, I am an autoimmune paleo coach. So I'm trained in that as well, whether it's AIP, Walls Protocol, Bredesen, there are these overlaps and similarities, and then there are nuances, but all of them, low carb, keto, intermittent fasting, loads of greens. And just doing one of those things really is not enough.
Right.
And so, that's why I'm just so excited. And I'm not the best. People are always asking me, well, do you have recipes? And so, I think the book may just be included in my next program as like, here, here are your
Awesome.
recipes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Anna
Yeah.
did it already for us. It's
Yeah. I love it.
fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And also, like the way I cook, it's been fun because I grew up in a house full of chefs and my mom was a baker and it was a dash of this, a dash of that. And it's really a challenge to write recipes. So, I mean, the biggest thing, like when I think about what are we doing to be keto green, healthy fats, high quality protein, lots of green fiber, right? And think about those three things when you're making a plate. And that starts to get this keto green, this keto green balance. And then with my recipes, I want to make sure I'm detoxifying estrogen healthfully, supporting the gut microbiome, I'm supporting metabolism, we're refueling from glucose as a primary source to ketones. But yet I have a fifth pause, which is actually carbing up. Because sometimes we're so restricted for so long, we're also start to struggle again, difficulty sleeping, hitting a stall. And so sometimes we need to, or, not getting the performance in our workouts that we want. In fact, one of our friends, Debbie Potts, who's really an Olympic athlete and an amazing coach too. And she's like, I've had to, when I carb up before my long workouts or marathons, I do so much better. And it's so true. And it's recognizing what you need when you need it and not getting stuck in one camp, right? Recognizing like it till today, I cannot do dairy, but recognizing when you need to challenge your body, when you need to change things up. And it's so true. People get into a way and they're eating the same thing every day and it's not healthy either. Even if it's healthy food, it cannot be healthy if you're doing it, the same food. And I always rub on chicken salad. If I see one more chicken salad in a menu plan, forget it.
I love that. And it is so important, that flexibility. If we think of how did we used to eat, in the summer, there's fruit and berries and things, we weren't eating any of those foods in the winter as we're hunting and gathering, right? But so keeping that flexibility and, like you said, listening to your body, I do think I went through it. We as we start to heal and reclaim health, we get really rigid, right? We don't want to go back to how it was. And if this is working, then I'm going to just stay in this little box forever. And then the real freedom becomes when you realize that, no, I can give my body what it needs when it needs it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep, for sure. And I think that's the true awareness. And when we're out of the brain fog, we're better able to make those choices. And I know definitely in the autoimmune community, energy and healing metabolism and rebuilding resilience is critical. And this is where, diversity, this is where change and variety can really help.
Amazing advice. I'm going to ask a really silly question, but it's also a really important question. Because we're talking about women, right? And we're talking about menopause, we're talking about hormones and supporting us through our better half in life. How about this diet? If you're cooking and you're cooking for your loved ones and some of them happen to be male, okay for them to eat this way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have them doing really, really well. And they get results very quickly. I've got to update my Instagram.
It's almost not fair. Yeah.
I know. It's almost not fair. We have, Dr. Angeli Akey out of North Florida Integrative Medicine. She's Yale trained. She helped with the integrative medicine program. She's amazing, one of the world's leading physicians and concierge physicians. And so she's been using my Keto Green 16, my second book, in her group medical visits. So she incorporated group medical visits where they get their labs and they get their blood pressures and weights, and then they do Keto Green 16 and they follow up. And she's reduced, in one gentleman in 16 days, he reduced his blood pressure medicine that was like, it was just going up and up and up. He reduced his blood pressure medicine. He lost, oh my gosh, like I forget how much, but over 20 pounds. It's crazy. in 16 days, and he was feeling better, more energetic once she reduced his blood pressure medicine, because he came in, this was at the start of COVID. We were doing this, and he called her. He's like, I'm feeling kind of weak, sluggish, what's going
Your blood
on? And
pressure's too
he's like, let
low.
me do COVID. Let me do a COVID swab. She was one of the first clinics that drive through COVID swabbing. And she checked his blood pressure. It's like, oh, we got to reduce your blood pressure medicine. It's really low. And it was from decreasing the inflammatory foods. I mean, he's doing amazing, amazing now. We've seen hemoglobin A1Cs drop in 2 months, like significantly,
It's
significantly. It's beautiful.
and
And guys do
it's
really well.
over and over and over again. I have a client in her 60s, so female, postmenopausal. She, from eating this way and keeping a gratitude journal and managing her, it's a whole lifestyle. It's not just diet, but the diet is so huge. And she came in and I know she thought I was crazy when I said, these are the things that are going to improve and you can do. Oh no, I've been a yo-yo dieter my whole life. I won't be able to do it. If I hear one more time, I'm a lifetime member at Weight Watchers. I'm like, okay, you shouldn't have to be a lifetime member of any kind of eating plan. She's off 2 blood pressure medications. She's off blood sugar medications, went from type 2 diabetic to not even pre-diabetic. Her A1C actually, I think, is lower than mine, which is, mine's good. But amazing, remarkable. And yeah, weight came off, energy got better. She used to not be able to put the groceries away when she got home from the store because she'd be too exhausted from going to the store. Now she's doing Pilates and water aerobics and riding her butt. I'm like, you're like the Energizer Bunny. It is unbelievable.
And it is possible for everyone listening. And it really makes a difference when having a coach. When having a coach and community around you, Julie. So being able to work with you, and that gift that you give your clients is that accountability, and is that encouragement, and is that direction. Look, I know there's many wrong paths we can go down, but let me guide your hand down the right one.
Yeah. I love partnering with people. It makes me really excited. And I always say now she's now sharing all, anytime she encounters a friend who's, she's like, let me tell you what I've been doing. She's sharing, and that's that ripple effect. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew I am very against double cooking when you're improving your health. And so
men can do it too. Exactly. Yep. And they do amazing with it. And in fact, we had in my girlfriend doctor club, we had a call the other day, and that was the question, like, my husband won't eat this, won't eat that, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, look, there's the carnivore plan in here. And pretty much guys love carnivore plans. And, and her son too. I said, also talk with them about doing this with you, that you need the support, and it's good for them. And for 6 days, we can do it together. But to like really, ask for and demand support. This will really make me happy. And a guy in your life wants you to be happy.
Yeah.
This will make me happy. I know, like, you can add in, it'll make me friskier, more receptive, all this good stuff. And you want him to come along too, because there's the fat, sad dad syndrome that it's tragic. And I'm seeing it. You go to any kid soccer game, you can look around. And it's really sad. And this is really good. In my Instagram, there's a little interview with Rolando Blackman, All-American Mavericks player, just, top of the field, right? A very dedicated athlete. He's in his 60s now. And he's like, look, guys, it starts with you. And I want every man to hear that, because in order for his wife or, a person in your life to feel supported, it really does. That encouragement matters. Like, oh, I see you doing this. And I'm with you. Let me help you along. What can I do? What meal can I prepare for you? Or I'll clean dishes or whatever it may be. But like
I
bring
tell my guy
on the
that's the
whole family.
sexiest thing in the world is that when he cleans the dishes,
That's porn for women.
which he always does, by the way, but I have to keep reinforcing it because
Oh my God.
it's
That
my favorite thing.
absolutely. I always joke. I say that's porn for women.
It is. It totally is. He said he had read that in a book in college. And I'm like, well, it is true. It's accurate. I love that. And then it's a gift for the whole family, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. You may ask your guy for support.
Well, I've gone on strike.
Them.
I've gone on strike in my household. I did Easter Sunday. I went on strike because Easter Sunday I'd been like 40 days, no alcohol, mostly 98%. And I made this great from my book, my roast leg of lamb and my Brussels sprouts. And I just made like a beautiful dinner. Right. And I'd been cooking and I was excited, shopped, cooked, everything. And I called everyone. I said, come make your plates and let's go sit and eat at the table. And one of my youngest daughter, she's like, oh, I'm not hungry because she was snacking on the charcuterie board. She said, I'm not hungry. I made my plate and I went out and I ate by myself until everyone made their plates and joined me. And I've been on strike. I said, number one, I'm not making two different meals. I'm not having, if there's something that comes into my house that's not keto green, I'm throwing it away. I'm towing the line for me and I'm going to tow it for you. And it's taken me a while to get to this because I'm the single mom guilt ridden syndrome.
Too, 20 years.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just let her have it this once, or I'll just.
We used to have a gluten bin in our pantry because my oldest son was diagnosed with celiac. And then I went gluten-free to support him, still not knowing I too was celiac. But just looking back and thinking, I thought I was being a nice mom. Like, you could have the Oreos. We're going to keep them in this bin. What was I feeding my family?
Was I thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I've had clients say that too. Why am I letting my kids eat that junk and I'm eating good food? That's not right.
And look, what's happening in our schools. Like my kids, we would pack for their lunches, but when my daughter was in public school, I went to have lunch with her a few times. And at the lunch table, 6 out of 18 kids got up to go get their behavior medicine, their good medicine at lunch. And I looked and I said, what are they eating? I mean, they had like the corn dog, the cupcake, and what happens for breakfast? They get cereal. And so what do they need? They need a snack. That snacking ritual that we're doing in school is because the high and low blood sugars.
Yeah.
So if you just do eggs and bacon in the morning with some greens, they'll be great. They'll be great.
Yeah. And then they'll be fueled and they can learn and sit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They can sit and think and be, So my kids love sushi. They love edamame. They love these things. And so why bring in the other stuff anyway? No, it's tough to toe that line. We think we're being nice and we're actually doing harm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and once your mind shifts and you really know, I mean, you can't, I couldn't give anybody I love that so-called food because it's not really food.
I know. And it's so hard, especially I need some good accountability and coaching, Julie. I'll call you the next time.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Shoot me a text. I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you.
So step one, I can literally, I cannot encourage everybody enough to get this book, to get all of your books, really.
Thank you.
But this one is so exciting to me. I did want to ask you one other question. You talk about checking pH.
Yes.
Do you have a recommendation for people that are like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to get strips. Where do they start?
I created my own strips that have ketone and pH on single strip because there I was as a single mom peeing on 2 different strips. I was like, oh my God, can't do that. So I created my own. So It's Keto PH strips. You can get them on Amazon. It's only like $13. There's 100 strips in there, but
Oh,
there's
wow.
50 in a separate aluminum, because once you open that container, moisture, air gets in. I mean, at doctor's offices, we go through a container a week.
Right.
But in this case, you're going to probably have that container for over a month. So keep that other 50 in the aluminum foil separate, and then just pee on the strip. Super easy. It checks your pH, checks your ketones. You want to get into both. Now, if you have been in ketosis for a long term without having a feast day or a carb up day or something like that, it may not show on your urine test strips, but you can just do a quick ketone blood meter test or breath test. There's other ways, certainly, that are the gold standards, but for quick and easy and regular monitoring, Keto PH strips.
I love
There's
that.
instructions, and I have videos, and not actually peeing on a strip, but everything else.
Thank you for not sharing that with us.
You are welcome.
I love that. I tell my clients, because I'm always talking poop with my clients, and I'm like, you can be as descriptive as you want, and do not send me pictures. I do not want to see it. So we all can figure out how to pee on a stick. It's really not hard.
It's really
a strip.
easy.
So well thought out, so detail oriented you are. I love the, we're going to keep these 50 strips fresh while you work your way through the container.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. What is one step? I already kind of gave them one, but one step that listeners can take immediately today, right now, to start to improve their health?
Make sure you're getting enough greens in, the low carbohydrate greens, the alkalinizers, the herbs, spices. How are you seasoning your food? Like, consider that as part of your food as medicine.
I love that. That's a beautiful thing. I think so many people don't use herbs and spices intentionally.
Yeah.
So that is amazing advice. There you go, guys. And then I'm going to throw out, really seriously, get the book.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys will love the book, and get a couple copies, get it for friends. We have one person, Grace, and she bought 8 books. She's like, I'm making sure no one has an excuse. We're going to do this together. When you bring along your friends and your friends hold you accountable, like, one's always stronger than you are, and you're always stronger than someone else. So doing that together really improves compatibility and results for all of you. And then if you've got some naysayers in your group and some cantankerous people are very negative, well, maybe those are some people you have to pause. And one of my chapters in my book, I say, pausing the things that no longer serve you. And sometimes it's putting those hard boundaries around some people in your life too, that are defeating you, that are keeping you unwell. And I love the expression, you can never get healthy in an environment that made you sick. So pay close attention to what's no longer serving you. And as you physiologically stronger, as you will be with the Keto Green Way, as you become physiologically stronger, you're mentally stronger, and you have more of the gumption to say what's really on your mind and to create those firm lines. And like I did, finally going on strike with my family. I love that. Still on strike.
You're still on strike. Hey, we got to create the change we need. And I love, you can't keep doing what got you sick and get well. Like, it just doesn't work. So I love that. Guys, pick up the book and check out the pauses, because it is truly life-changing. I want to have you back on, because we didn't even get to talk about like how sexy the second half of life can be, and
oh my gosh,
to talk
that's my specialty, sexual health and sexual medicine. That is that I love talking about that, because there's no limitation. There's not.
And for those of you that are listening on audio, this is two ladies in their 50s chatting. So we would love to have you back on to talk about that. That would be a lot of fun.
Definitely. And in the meantime, definitely check out my website at dranna.com. A lot of good information on that, solutions that I created, because there were none in my doctor's bag to help me.
which is amazing. And that is how functional medicine just keeps getting better and better, is, doctors needing to fix themselves. Thank goodness for the rest of us. So the links will be in the show notes.
And
you just shared.
And challenges from our patients. Like when you say to your doctor, look, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Help me find a different way, or keep asking. And then when you do find that way, go back and share it with your doctor. Say, hey, like I've had clients giving my first book, The Hormone Fix, to their doctors, and now Menopause to their doctors. And again, physician one of the world's best physician running group programs with Keto Green 16. Y'all, like, that is amazing stuff. Like when you know that it changes your life, spread the word. Spread the word. We as women, we have so much strength with our voice, with our pocketbooks. We have so much influence. And way back in 2000, a patient gave me Dr. Christiane Northrup's book, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom. I mean, I didn't have time to read it page by page, but I flipped through and I read sections and I was like, it just planted a seed of curiosity to open my mind and ask more questions.
Well, and those are the kinds of physicians that if you don't have a physician who is grateful for, the opportunity to continue to learn from colleagues and others in the field, it made me really sad. I was super excited the day that my rheumatologist fired me because I no longer had any autoimmune symptoms. Not once did he ask me what I had done. Not once. He was not interested. And
you planted a seed, Julie. You planted a seed, and he may be interested now. He may have seen a patient. And I think that's the key. Like, show up. Let them know. Communicate with us as physicians. I'm constantly learning. I mean, seriously, God's made me very humble, but I'm constantly learning, and I appreciate that. And we spend a lot of money as physicians, hundreds of thousands of dollars in prime years of our lives. And we think, we should have all the tools, and we absolutely should, but we don't. Yeah. So, it's cool.
So have those conversations, guys. Share these books. Dr. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. All the links are going to be in the show notes, guys. Links to the book. I know you have gifts for people who buy the book. You have extra assets for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at dranna.com, like you go to that asset link. If you go to my book page, you'll get a link to where to go to get the bonuses.
Perfect. And the link to the book will be in the show notes as well. I so appreciate you taking the time to share this with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For everyone listening, remember you can get the show notes and transcripts by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.